Hello, welcome back. Today we are back playing Genshin, and here's what happened last time.
Trial through to the very end. I would like to charge you as a fraud who's never been the Archon in the first place.
Lady Farina, do you plead guilty to the charge? Lady Farina.
Why is she pausing?
I plead not guilty.
If we can't prove that she isn't the Archon, we can try to prove that she is just a human.
I'm fine! Look at me, everyone! My hand is still here!
She seems very surprised by this.
She was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater, the same as other humans when exposed to primordial seawater of a similar concentration.
The exact wording of the verdict is thus. The Hydro Archon, guilty.
What?
To be punished via the death sentence. Not only is Farina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Farina has never been the Hydro Archon in the first place. But now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the Hydro Archon. What does this mean?
Oratrice, what does this mean?
Excuse me, if I may interrupt.
Fremine is the real Hydro Archon.
Is the trial still going?
Yeah.
Fremine, oh, you finally made it. I assume this means you've completed your mission?
Mm-hmm. Any mission Father assigns to me will
Aww.
always be top priority.
Is
Oh,
that the first prophecy slate? Huh.
they found
So the
it.
nymph privately arranged for Fremine to try and find the missing slate.
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea.
Thank you for
What
your
does
hard
this
work, Mr.
mean?
Fremine. Please allow me to review the record left on the slate. Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates. I would like you to come here and confirm their contents.
Sure. There's a dude in the middle and a hooded lady.
So what do you see? What is it?
Looks like the previous Hydro Archon releasing her divine power, turning Oceanids into human beings.
I believe I've now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with Fontaine's lost history.
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that's Farina. And we've already proven that she's
Paimon.
not the Hydro Archon. So when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean the real Hydro Archon we've been kind of talking about?
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be traced back to the contents of these stone slates. However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
An association between the contents of the slates and the events in real life.
Let's try to recall the contents of the other 3 stone slates. Paimon will do her best to help you remember.
Thanks, Paimon.
The first stone slate describes what you just said. Does that mean that Fontainians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting
Yeah,
that.
me neither, Paimon.
If Oceanids can turn into humans, then perhaps this process can be reversed as well. The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together. This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontainians were branded with their original sin.
Ooh.
The third slate shows the Hydro Archon sinking into the sea surrounded by many people. That reminds Paimon, didn't we also watch that happen to someone else? Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontainians have been talking about. People dissolving into the sea, the Hydro Archon crying on her throne, and so on. They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater, converge, and take the form of an Oceanid. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Perhaps this means that her sin was actually Fontaine's original sin. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness, and was forced to take part in a trial meant to make her stay. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meripede was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass no matter what. The prophecy's contents can all be verified by recent events.
What is the final prophecy? I'm scared.
Huh? Oh, Paimon gets it now! So that's how you can make sense of it. But then it feels like we're going to have to share some truly shocking revelations.
Let's hear them.
The first slate reveals that Fontainians are not real humans.
Incredible. Linny, did you hear that?
We're not real humans.
All Fontainians were originally created by the late previous Hydro Archon, with Oceanids as their basis.
Indeed.
Second slate reveals that the crime of the Hydro Archon was not the cremation. No, Celestia would have been okay with that. Was her creation of Fontainians from Oceanids.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission. That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the Hydro Archon to be guilty. It's to account for that ancient sin.
The
Oh.
Hydro Archon's true sin was creating us?
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese.
As for the third slate, I'm so convinced that it should come after the fourth slate.
Isn't the image here just like when Navia fell into the sea? So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate?
Oh, the fourth slate depicts the fulfillment of the prophecy as it's already widely
In the
known.
end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away. Did Paimon get all that right?
You've made some
Yes,
keen
Paimon.
deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is impressive that you've already managed to connect so many pieces of the truth. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power source. When
What
we
did
were
you
at the ruins,
find?
I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. But since we only had 3 slates at the time, I was unable to come to a full conclusion.
Well, did you get it?
Did you get
I
it?
believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. I will try to briefly
Oh, that doesn't
summarize it
sound
for you.
great.
Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontainians and the sin of the Hydro Archon were both correct.
Oh, wow.
In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land.
Oh.
The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the 7, did not
Sad
possess the
Oceanids.
authority to create a new form of human life. Not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea.
Wow.
She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanids' blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontainians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Oceanids. Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race. And thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history
That's
of how the
crazy.
people of Fontaine first came into being.
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that
Oh
I never heard a
no.
single thing.
He's like, I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up right now.
Let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death? After all, her only sin was creating us.
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontainian.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the 3rd and 4th stone slates was inaccurate.
Really?
The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct.
What is the third slate supposed to represent
The key
then?
point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans rather than Oceanids.
Right.
They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water from the primordial sea. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of Trials and Justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment and justice. The meaning of the third slate is that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the
No
court
way.
of justice.
It can't
Yes,
be.
It refers to our present situation.
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial to avoid fulfilling the prophecy,
We fulfilled
in truth,
it.
everything
Oh
we've
my
done has
gosh.
happened exactly as the prophecy foretold. So now, it seems, we're the ones making sure it comes true.
What should we do?
It feels like there's no way out of this.
No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled.
Oh my goodness.
Is this what it feels like to be a prisoner of fate?
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions.
Oh yeah, what's that?
About the fourth slate. You probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meripede served as the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass, yes?
Yeah.
However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be a small warning of something far worse to come. As for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before.
Could it be? The whale. Is it the whale? Aha.
If we're talking
Big boy
about
was
a true
splashing around too
culprit,
much
that
down
can
there.
only be that thing inside the primordial sea, right?
Is that child in the middle? He's so small.
The truth, the original sin, the trial, and the root cause of the disaster.
Oh no. In my opera, Epicles! Oh no! Okay. Go off, Delulu man. You're back. Oh, and back into the hole. I'm assuming this means we need to go after him.
That was way too close! How did that thing just burst into the opera house? Wait, was that the huge whale you saw in your dream?
That's right. I'd wager that it's also the one that Child saw when he was
So
young.
we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here. That whale does not belong to Tevat. It is a monster that has traversed
My
the
brother?
stars, weeping all the while. It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising sea levels. And once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained within the sea, its next step will be...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontainians out of Oceanids, she filled their blood vessels with primordial seawater.
Precisely. That whale finds the blood
Oh.
of Fontainians nigh impossible
Vampire
to resist.
whale.
Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food.
Won't it come back to target the people again once it's managed to recover its strength?
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some
So
time.
true.
He must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this.
Right.
Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy, all we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a way to beat it up, right?
Gosh,
It
I
is
hope
too
so.
late.
What? What do you
It
mean?
had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically integrated with
Come
the
on,
sea
Dragon
itself.
Man. Chin up.
Even if
We can
the
do this.
entirety of Teyvat were to be destroyed, it could still survive and swim off towards some other world.
That's not something I will accept. We've already done everything we can, and we even found the true culprit. We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is some impossible foe. That's just not fair.
Indeed. That's not how a grand performance should end.
Yeah, get him,
I'll fight it to
besties.
the end. No matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future.
After everything, it still turned out like this. We couldn't fight against fate. But if this is all about fate,
Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening in hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall? Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Teyvat's future. All you need to do is to play your part.
even if the prophecy will be fulfilled, there's still a way to save everyone. Did I miss something? I forgot about Farina. What was it that she wanted to say to me at that last moment in the giant magic box? What is her real secret? Farina! We need your secret right now! I know we just sentenced you to death, bestie, but,
What's happening with the oratories?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
oh no.
Farina! No, I still need answers.
Farina?
You.
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face is just too amusing. I couldn't help myself.
Same with the little, like, name area of
You are
Farina.
not Farina. Who are you?
The sweet sound of bewilderment. Marvelous. A sure sign that my attempt to deceive everyone was a resounding success. But to answer your question, I am Focalor. You know, the god.
Focalor. Why did you deceive us?
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, no. But I had to fool everyone else too, if I was to stand any chance of deceiving the heavenly principles.
Deceiving the heavenly principles.
It's all because of that pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. Fontaine condemned to be flooded. One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my dearest predecessor. That's the former Hydro Archon Egeria for the uninitiated. It hardly gets more disastrous than a preordained national
Yeah,
catastrophe.
that's not super fun.
Now does it? She knew full well that the prophecy would surely come to pass. And as one of the 7, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly principles at one's peril. So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible situation that I found myself in. I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I was almost growing barnacles by the time I finally realized there was only one possible solution to this confounding conundrum. I had to outwit the heavenly principles, allow the prophecy to be fulfilled, ostensibly at least, while saving everyone at the same time.
Go off,
I'm
girl.
a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Egeria chose me as her successor. Although, looking back now, it was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, the quotidian duties of the Hydro Archon, and not to mention the original sin of creating a new race of humans, I dare say she left me quite a colossal mess to clean up. But one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than I chose to be one of her Oceanid familiars.
So you were also once one of the Oceanids, transformed into a human by Egeria's hand.
Yes, I was.
Wow.
I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. In my eyes, to be human is to be part of the greatest opera ever known. After becoming a god,
cute.
I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and bewildered as my past self on her first day as a human being. The me you see before you now is that divinity. And the human counterpart I left behind, I named Farina. She could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and conceited, or as meek and vulnerable as she wished. Her strengths were of a kind only a human could possess, as were her shortcomings. But in my eyes, Farina's humanity was what made her perfect. She was perfectly human in every way. The person I always wanted to be. Anyway, so then I cursed her. All part of the plan, of course. The plan to deceive the heavenly principles. Do you still remember the final scene of the prophecy? The Hydra Archon alone, weeping on her throne. In order that the prophecy might appear fulfilled, I invited Farina to be an actress, to play the part of the Hydro Archon in the prophecy, under the curse I placed on her. So long as I, Focalor's divinity, continued to exist, she could not die. But nor was she free to live her life in the pursuit of happiness. Instead, she was forced to take the stage in the opera house, to embrace the role of leading lady, to forever play the part of the god from the prophecy, all to create a deceitful appearance of that prophecy coming to pass. I suppose now you probably understand why your court is called the Opera Epiclese.
But Farina is only human, isn't she? Even though she has had a long life, her mind is no stronger than that of any other ordinary human being. I cannot begin to fathom what she has had to endure.
So sad.
It must have been torture for her.
It has indeed. And although she is, in a sense, me in human form, I most definitely owe her an apology for it. It's been 500 years, and all along, she's been playing her part in the most unimaginably long, unbearably lonely, and agonizingly painful opera of all time.